Welcome to today's Masterclass Explainer, everyone. I'm absolutely thrilled to have you here. As your resident CMA professor, my absolute favorite thing is taking these rigorous accounting concepts and just breaking them down so simply that you literally can't help but master them. Today, we're unpacking a crucial topic from the governance, risk, and compliance domain of your CMA Part 1 exam, internal control policies for safeguarding and assurance. We're going to build a rock-solid foundation today that's going to serve you incredibly well, not just on exam day, but for your entire corporate finance career.
Okay, let's dive right into our syllabus. We're covering the true meaning of safeguarding, physical versus logical controls, the golden rule of ARC, achieving assurance through verification, and we'll wrap it all up with a real CMA exam practice question.
All right, part 1, the true meaning of safeguarding.
Now, you might be thinking, safeguarding, that just means locking the warehouse doors at night, right? Well, on the CMA exam, it goes way beyond that. Sure, physical security is absolutely part of it, locking up the cash, hiring a guard. But in today's modern business environment, safeguarding is incredibly broad. It's the active protection of all company assets. We're talking digital data, your intellectual property, the whole shebang. You aren't just protecting against outright fraud either. You're actively fighting off everyday waste and operational inefficiency. You've got to make sure the company's resources are being used exactly as intended, not just evaporating into thin air. And right alongside safeguarding, we have assurance. Honestly, assurance is all about one thing: confidence. It basically means you've successfully built a system of checks and balances that proves, without a doubt, to management and external auditors that your financial statements are actually reliable. Think about it. If you claim to have $1 million in inventory sitting in a warehouse, assurance is the exact mechanism that proves that number isn't just some fairy tale dreamed up by an overly optimistic manager.
Moving right along to part 2, physical versus logical controls.
So how do we actually pull this safeguarding off? Well, it takes two totally distinct layers of control working together. First up, we've got physical controls. These are exactly what they sound like: tangible safeguards. We're talking perimeter fences, heavy-duty locked storerooms, security cameras on the loading docks. It even includes physical actions, like a manager actually walking the warehouse floor at year-end to count the boxes. But let's be real. Today, a company's most valuable assets are often entirely digital, and that is exactly where logical controls step in. These protect your software, your data, your networks. We're talking ironclad passwords, multi-factor authentication, firewalls, heavy encryption. Seriously, you just can't have a secure operation today unless both of these layers are working in perfect harmony.
Now listen up, because the ICMA absolutely loves testing your understanding of access. Management has to keep access strictly limited, but there are actually two types of access you need to worry about. Direct access means literally getting your hands on the physical cash, the inventory, or the machinery. Indirect access, on the other hand, means having the system ability to just log into a computer and manipulate the financial records that represent those assets. Here's a scary scenario for you. If a shipping clerk can physically walk out the back door with a laptop, that's direct access. But what if they also have the system password to just delete that laptop from the inventory software? That's indirect access. If one employee has both, oh man, you are staring down a massive control failure just waiting to happen.
Which brings us to part 3, the golden rule, ARC. Look, if you remember literally nothing else from today's explainer, burn this golden rule into your brain. It is the absolute core of internal controls. We're talking about the segregation of duties, perfectly wrapped up in the acronym ARC. These are 3 specific functions that must always be separated among different people. A stands for authorization, the power to actually approve a transaction. R is for recording, the person who types that transaction into the accounting system. And C is custody, the person physically holding the asset. By breaking this ARC chain across multiple employees, the work of one person naturally double-checks the work of another. So what happens if we just ignore this rule? Well, welcome to the danger zone. Imagine we have a hypothetical accounts payable clerk. Management really likes him, trusts him implicitly, and so they give them a ton of responsibility. This clerk gets the power to approve vendor invoices. There's your authorization. They also write the checks and log the expenses in the ledger. There's your recording. And finally, they physically hold the company checkbook and mail out the checks. That's custody. Management probably pats themselves on the back, thinking they're being super efficient. But as a future CMA, you should be seeing massive red flags everywhere. Because here is the cold, hard truth. If one person handles all 3 of those duties, committing fraud becomes ridiculously easy. Think about our overly empowered clerk for a second. With all three ARC powers, they could just invent a completely fake vendor out of thin air. They approve a phony invoice using their authorization power. Next, they cut a real, actual check to themselves using their custody power. And to cover their tracks, they just record it in the ledger as a totally normal business expense using their recording power. Without the segregation of duties, they pull this whole thing off without a single person noticing. No collusion required. It's basically a seamless crime.
All right, part 4, achieving assurance through verification. So, we've got our ARC framework set up, right? But how does management actually prove that these safeguards are working out there in the real world? To get true, reliable assurance, you absolutely need independent verification. The folks checking the system simply cannot be the same ones operating it. Take bank reconciliations. These are absolutely vital, but they have to be done by someone completely outside the cash receipts or disbursements departments. If a cashier is reconciling their own cash drawer, honestly, that control is completely useless. Then you've got maturity reviews. That's taking a step back, looking at actual performance versus budgets, and hunting for weird variances that scream control failure. And of course, internal and external audits, rigorous independent stress tests of the controls themselves. Here's a pro tip. If an exam question asks how to handle an executive terrified of employees skimming cash, the best answer almost always involves setting up periodic, independent reconciliations.
And finally, part 5. Let's tackle a CMA exam practice question.
All right, you've absorbed all the theory like a sponge. Now it's time to put on our CMA hats and actually apply this to a classic exam-style scenario. Ready? Here's the question. To provide the highest level of assurance and safeguard company assets, which of the following duties should be segregated? Is it A, approving a customer's credit limit and maintaining the accounts receivable subsidiary ledger? B, recording cash receipts in the ledger and performing the monthly bank reconciliation? C, counting physical inventory at year end and signing the warehouse security log? Or D, ordering office supplies and receiving the office supplies? Take a quick second, use that ARC framework we just built, lock in your answer. Got it? The correct answer is B. Let's break down exactly why that is. Recording cash receipts falls squarely under R, recording. Performing the bank reconciliation? Well, that's supposed to be your independent verification of C, custody and recording. If you let the exact same person do both of these jobs, you're literally handing them the power to pocket liquid cash and then doctor the reconciliation document at month end to hide the theft. Because cash is just so highly liquid and tempting to steal, separating these specific duties is an absolute non-negotiable for safeguarding. You guys did a fantastic job navigating these concepts today. As we wrap up this masterclass explainer, I want to leave you with a quick thought experiment. Don't just think about this for the exam. Think about it for your actual job tomorrow. What is the weakest link in your company's ARC chain right now? Seriously, look around your office, look at your software permissions, look at who handles the cash. If you start viewing your workspace through this lens of authorization, recording, and custody, I guarantee you're going to spot major opportunities to level up your company's safeguarding and assurance. Keep studying hard, stay super curious, and let's keep building that financial mastery.